Good morning. Glad you could join us once again for our Strong and Sturdy podcast. I hope you had a great weekend. We had our first snowfall, and it happened to be on a Sunday morning. And I had some snow on Saturday night, continued through the night. Had a good about a couple inches by the morning. And I had to get out there and shovel the church, and it was a great thing. But God blessed. We had a wonderful attendance, and not really down from last week, just down a few. Our bus was up actually from last week. And despite the snow day, it's amazing what God does. And we step away, and God just does things wonderful. We had a couple riders, been praying for them for about a year, and a couple teenagers, and they finally came to church for the first time in a long time. I think it was been about 3 years, give or take. And I'm hoping we can get them involved, get them serving God, see what God can do with them, if they can stick it out. And just a blessing. That a prayer answered today, and that was a blessing. I was out Saturday, got to knock on some doors with one of our teenagers, and we hit a couple Jehovah's Witnesses on the way, a couple people that were interested. It says Sam, one of our teenagers, God's got to have somebody for us to talk to. We kept going. The third last store, we got to meet a lady named Amanda, and she let us go through the Gospels. 28 degrees out, and for you that are in Canada, it's about -2, -3, maybe -4. And she stood out there, endured the cold, and we got to show her how to go to heaven. She trusted Christ as her Savior, hoping she can come out to church with her and her 15-year-old son. And just a wonderful thing, seeing what God does. And when you give yourself and you allow Him to use you. Now I'm going to give you a truth this morning that excited me when I read it, and I believe it'll be a blessing to you. And simply do it again. Do it again. The Bible says in Psalms chapter 44, we have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us what the works thou didst in their days. In the times of old, how thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantest them, how thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. Verse 4, thou art my king, O God, command deliverances for Jacob. And it finishes off, verse 26, arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. Here we see the people looked back and he said, we heard what you did in the past. We're struggling. We're having a hard time. Our enemies are coming over us, but we've heard how great God you were in the past, how many miracles you had done, and the things through the stories that we've heard, that of all the great things, you brought them out of Egypt, you overcame nations, you destroyed the enemies and brought them into the promised land. And here we're stuck. Here we're in the middle of a struggle. It's like we feel like you've abandoned us. We feel like we're on our own. He said, God, we want you to do it again. God, arise for our help. God, you're our God. We want you to do it again. We don't want the stories of the past in itself. God, we know you can do it again today. We know you can deliver again today. Simply do it again. Just a thought I want you to chew on for a little bit. I love hearing stories. I do. I love hearing stories of the past. I listen to sermons from Dr. Jack Hyles, Dr. John Rice, Lester Roloff, and all those great preachers of the past and some of the older preachers of today. And I listen to them and their stories they have in the past and even far back before their time, the older preachers. And we see that the works that God did back there, the stories of George Whitefield in their time and Jonathan Edwards, and what God did in the past. And I love those stories. But am I so naive to think that they can't happen again? That God can't do a work today? I believe 100% that God can do a work today. I believe He is doing a work today. And I want to see God do more. I want to see God do miracles today. I want to see God build churches today, call men of God today, call women of God today into the ministry. I want to see lives changed, buses started, souls saved, people added to the church, people baptized, people being discipled, people being taught how to soul win, people taught how to live the godly Christian life. It can happen today. And when a church is on fire for God, great things happen. And God does a work with those that are on fire for Him. When people decide that they want to be used by God, God decides to use them. And it's a wonderful thing when a person is used by God. I don't just want to hear of the great works, although I love hearing of great works. I want God to do it today. I don't want to the only sermon illustrations I have from soul winning is, well, I led somebody to Christ 20 years ago. And many preachers, not all preachers, many preachers will stand up and they'll tell you a soul winning testimony from 20 years ago. But the ones I love listening to, the ones that get up there and they say, I'm going to tell you about the soul I led to Christ yesterday. The soul I led to Christ this weekend. And I give telling testimonies of those that are recent, within the last week, maybe 2 weeks at best. Why? Because I'm continually leading people to Christ. And those who I follow continually lead people to Christ. They see people saved. They see lives changed. They see people ride a bus. And those are the ones I'll imitate. Those are the ones that I'm going to follow. And I'm not going to follow someone that's a deadhead not doing anything for God. Why? Because they don't believe that God can do it again. They'll sit on the couch eating potato chips, and that's fine if you want to sit on the couch and eat potato chips. But I'm not going to sit there and eat potato chips. I want God to do something great. I want the God of all gods to put the devil underwater. I want to bring more souls to Christ. I want to see what God can do today. Right, we have in our parking lot, we have two 70, one's a 60, I can't remember, 60 passenger bus, 65 passenger bus, the other one's a 71. I want to see next year those two buses are on the road every weekend. And I want to see 150, I want to see 100, 150 people come on a bus every single Sunday. I want to see the pews filled. I want to see the color in our pews covered up. Why? I want to see people in those pews. Can God do it? Oh, 100%. But it takes a man that's going to decide to let God use him. See more buses run. See more churches start. Our pastor has one goal of seeing 100 churches started here in Colorado. And we want to start churches. We want to see people called, see men of God called. And it takes a man of God that's willing to be used, is willing to preach the truth, is willing to preach sermons that are willing to call people, able to call people into the ministry and see what God can do. And whenever I look at a teenager, I see the future. I don't see where they're at now. I say, well, man, what could God use them to do? What could God do in the future if that young person, that young lady, or that young man decided to give their life to you? Man, the people that could be reached. The fruit that would abound to in their account because they decided to serve God. And I believe that greater works are in the future. Greater works for the church I'm at today are in the future. I don't want to look at the past and say, well, it happened. It was great back then. No, I want to say, hey, it's great today. What a wonderful thing that is. And God does something wonderful. I love the past, but I don't want to stay in the past. I don't want to stay in the stories of the past. I want stories today. You want to get out, you want to get into a church that's doing something for God. Don't be a part of a dead church. Never seen anybody saved, never seen people baptized, never seen visitors come to church. Church is dying. My friend, get to a church that is on fire for God. Seeing souls saved, seeing lives changed, seeing buses run, seeing people come out to church. And I don't want to be part of a dead church. I want to be part of a church that's alive. And a church that's alive is worth moving for. I don't care how far it is. And it's worth picking up your stuff and moving to where that God is moving. To where God is doing something. You'll never regret moving for a church that's on fire for God. You never will. And I don't want stories of the past. Your life doesn't have to be, the best time of your life doesn't have to be in the past. It can be today. It can be in the future. And allow God to use you. Allow God to do something great in your life. And what a wonderful thing it will be that God will use you to do something wonderful for Him. And let the best days be in the future. Let God do it again. I believe God will do it again. I believe there more souls will be saved, more lives changed, more people in church, more people in the choir, more people in the ministry, more people helping out. Why? Because the best is yet to come. And it reminds me of a sermon a older gentleman preached many years ago, and the best is yet to come. What a wonderful thing it is when we let God use us to do it again. God, you can do it again. You did it in the past. You can do it in the future. God hasn't lost His power. It's up to us to get that power, to ask for that power, to allow God to use us to change somebody's life. Get into churches on fire for God and see what God can do with you. Oh, God, would you do it again? Well, I hope that's a blessing for you. I hope that's a help to you this morning. If I can be a help to you in any way, let me know. Love to have you at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night and see what God has for you. Have a great day and God bless.